Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the best place for the best takes. I'm Benjamin Cure. This is the Benjamin Cure Show on a Monday just prior to the big game, the Super Bowl. I could not be more excited. I will talk about the big game, talk about my thoughts on the matchups within that game, and my rankings when it comes to players, which I've seen a couple out there. I'm going to have one of my own ranking the top 10 players in this year's Super Bowl 58. I can't wait to see what you guys think. I can only assume what the reactions will be, especially because one player in particular will be left off of the list that I know I'll hear about a lot. I will say today's episode, a little bit more of a, maybe you guys can't tell, a little bit more of a ragtag setup. A lot going on for me, work-wise, school-wise, so this is one of those where it really is off the cuff, but I still want to make sure that it's a great product. Also today, I'm wearing a sweater. It's cold. It's been raining nonstop in Miami. We had a tornado warning yesterday. I think I went through one. I'm not going to get into it, but I may have experienced a small tornado in my backyard. Stuff got pretty torn up. In any case, lighting's probably going to look a little bit weird on this video. I already know it because I usually rely on natural lighting. It probably looks god-awful, but that's for another day. Let's talk about the biggest, not the biggest story maybe this week, but the most interesting for sure. The NBA trade deadline is coming up, and one of the biggest storylines is LeBron James and the Lakers, really as it has been for the last 3 years. But this one in particular involves LeBron James and the trade rumors. Now, I already know, let's put out the whole timeline here for context. LeBron tweets out that emoji. The hourglass time has run out. Everybody thinks, oh, that means time's up. Is Darvin Ham getting fired? Is AD getting traded? Is LeBron asking to be traded? Rich Paul, the next day, LeBron James' agent, also the president and CEO of Clutch Sports, immediately comes out, clears up the rumors, and says, LeBron is not being traded anywhere. We have zero intention of LeBron being shopped for a trade. With that being said, even though Rich Paul denied that there would be any trade made involving LeBron James, and even though LeBron James has made it pretty abundantly clear that he likes Los Angeles, if a potential trade were to go down between the Lakers for LeBron James and literally any other team in the NBA, there is a team that makes sense. And the rumors surrounding the potential LeBron James trade were surrounding really the New York Knicks because of the game and LeBron James with the passive-aggressive towel on his shoulders. It was a Knicks towel. That got the internet up in a storm. In my opinion, there is a team in the East which LeBron James would be absolutely correct to go to. It has a great culture, has a great coaching staff, has some great pieces. He doesn't need to rely on only his own gameplay. He wouldn't be the only star there. He wouldn't be the only older guy there. Wouldn't be the only potential superstar there either. There are other guys on that team that could help him out young that will matter during the course of the regular season when he can't play 82 games a year anymore or even 70. There's going to be other guys in the mix as well that are bona fide stars already, potentially superstars with LeBron James' help. In my opinion, if any sort of trade were to go down for LeBron James, even though he already denied that and went out there and his agent said it's not going to happen, the Miami Heat feel like the perfect fit. And I know people are going to say, Ben, you're a homer. You're just hoping that LeBron James comes back. Two things can be true. I want LeBron James to come back to the Miami Heat one day. The second thing that can be true is it makes perfect sense from a basketball point of view. The Miami Heat right now are struggling, even with the best head coach in the NBA, arguably, and Eric Spoelstra. I truly do think he's one of the best basketball minds left in the league, was mentored by some of the all-time greats in the coaching world, in Pat Riley, and has had so many years and decades now of experience in the NBA at the highest level in the regular season, when things get tough, when things are going your way, in the postseason, with superstars being devoid of talent. He's experienced it all. I truly do believe that Eric Spoelstra is one of the best head coaches in the league. That's why he got that massive extension just a few weeks ago. What else do the Miami Heat do very well that is in LeBron's best interest to be on the lookout for? LeBron James is going to want to play with his son, Bronny James. Bronny James is clearly not necessarily playing his best basketball right now. Maybe hasn't necessarily lived up to that hype while playing at USC and starting a couple games. And even though he's coming back from a devastating heart condition and injury in the offseason and a heart scare, a health scare really, people are rushing to the conclusion that he's not ready. The best thing for Bronny James in terms of development would be to get drafted by the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat have a history of drafting young, raw stars like Bronny James and refining them and cleaning up their game and making them to formidable stars of the day of tomorrow. The Miami Heat do it better than anybody else. We have seen this time and time again. The Heat culture is perfectly built for bringing in young, raw talent and developing them. We've seen this a couple of years in a row now. LeBron knows, I want to play with my son. I want to have some sort of success with my son, even if it's not a championship. What does success look like? At the bare minimum, it looks like a winning record in a high-profile market, not in Orlando, not in Milwaukee. He wants to go to a place that's high-profile, that's a big market, but that can also develop him and his son and can maybe lead to them winning in their 1 year together. Because I don't give Bronny and LeBron more than 1 year playing together. I think thinking they're going to play for 2 or 3 years together, that's out of the question for me. I think it'll be a 1 year stint. The Miami Heat are the perfect team to develop Bronny James in just that 1 year and turn a very raw, very talented, but very raw young player into a star of tomorrow. Refine his game, clean it up. I just think that in terms of winning now, the ability to truly win a championship, LeBron James would be that final piece that the Miami Heat really need. In an Eastern Conference that really doesn't feel as loaded as we thought it would this year. We thought there was going to be so much talent. Milwaukee is kind of now drifting off into this weird space. Boston Celtics win some big games, win a lot at home. But I already told you a couple weeks ago, in the postseason, that doesn't mean anything to me. They have already shown us who they are. The Miami Heat, who are struggling, who are just above 500 right now, who played the Clippers last night. I do not know who won that game because I turned it off a little bit early. I should have checked. That is on me. That is the perfect team that has enough talent, some great coaching, a great system in place, a great culture that can be in a position to draft Bronny James, develop him, clean up his game, refine the rawness of his talent, and also give LeBron James a big city, a big welcome back. Feels like a good fit, a place that he's already played, not a big market team like a New York team that just feels like it would be a publicity stunt at this point. It would feel very logical and very normal to me and not PR stunt-ish if he went back to the Miami Heat. And there's been a couple rumors over the years. I believe Bill Simmons is the one who said this a couple months ago, that he believed that this would be a great fit. I do not know if he talked about Bronny in that take or what his take was, but me, knowing what I know about the Miami Heat, being from Miami, having experienced the LeBron James era here in Miami, knowing what's at stake for LeBron in the future, knowing that he wants to play with his son, but also knowing that he wants his son to have a great chance of being a successful basketball player, there is no better place than Miami. I know it's not going to happen, but if LeBron James got traded anywhere, I would hope and I would think it's the Miami Heat. They're the best fit by far, and they have the best system in place to really motivate and refine his son Bronny James' game. So in T-minus 7 days, we're going to get to watch the biggest football game of the year, Super Bowl 58 at Las Vegas in Allegiant Stadium. I truly cannot wait. To me, we are getting the two best teams in the league, two teams that I loved all year long. I actually made my preseason prediction that the 49ers would win the NFC. Took me a little bit longer to figure out the AFC. I ended up picking in about October, November-ish. I picked the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you don't believe me, I showed proof and I brought out all the receipts last week in a really awesome way. At least awesome for me. I could not believe that I made that prediction. But yeah, I ended up doing so. So if you want to go ahead and go watch that back, feel free to do so. Speaking of viewership and viewing and whatnot, I released a graphic this morning on social media, posted it everywhere. You guys really are the best. January of 2024 was the most watched month of the Benjamin Cure Show ever. Over 107,000 cumulative viewers. I am so grateful to all of you for tuning in, for making this show a part of your routine. It is not lost on me that you guys, are the ones who make this possible. I truly do thank you for all your support. But let's start with something that I normally don't do on this show, although you guys love these segments based on ratings, top 10s. I'm going to do my Ben's Best list, the top 10 players in the Super Bowl this season. I normally don't like to do lists because I feel like a lot of people out there do it just to disguise the fact that they don't know how to talk about sports or football or be in depth or have an open-ended conversation with you guys. So I try not to do it too much. I feel it's really gimmicky, especially in today's TikTokification of society. But I think this is only fitting in a week and in a game where there's so much talk about talent, game managers, game wreckers. I feel like this list can put to end some of that debate. So let's start off with number one on my Ben's Best list, the top 10 players in this year's Super Bowl. Number one, Patrick Mahomes. There is no debate here. The best quarterback in the NFL right now. Lamar Jackson is going to win MVP. I don't care. In the postseason, he got beat by the best quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. In a down year, 14 interceptions. It really didn't matter. Mahomes turned it on in the postseason. He is the best player in the world. Against the Bills, against a loaded Ravens roster, Vegas can say all they want. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are an underdog, which they are as of this morning, I think -2.5. They've been wrong before. You can stack the chips against them, but Mahomes is just a great equalizer. Number 2, Christian McCaffrey. For all the offseason talk about the running back position going extinct, Christian McCaffrey has single-handedly reminded the world what a great talent he is at the running back position and what a great talent at that position can do for a team's offense. Christian McCaffrey led the NFL in rushing yards this season with 1,459. His 2,000-plus scrimmage yards also led the league on the ground and through the air. McCaffrey found the end zone 21 times this season, which, you guessed it, also led the NFL. CMC at number 2 is only right. Number 3, Travis Kelce, potentially the most famous man in the world right now. Kelce is always going to be an X factor. Forget the regular season woes. The great ones can just find a way to turn it on. And Travis Kelce has done just that. Kelce is averaging over 87 yards per game this postseason and has 3 touchdown receptions already. Make no mistake, his connection with Patrick Mahomes will be the most important relationship on Sunday. Number 4, Trent Williams. He may not get the kind of headlines that guys like Deebo and CMC get, but make no mistake, Trent Williams sets the tone for the 49ers. The 13-year veteran continues to set the standard at the tackle position more than a decade into his career, which is so impressive and such an underrated storyline. This year, he has earned the league's highest run-blocking Pro Football Focus grade with a 94.5, which was powered by an impressive 26% impact block rate. It's only right that he's number 4. Next up, 5, Chris Jones. For the Chiefs defensively, it starts off with Chris Jones. 10.5 sacks, the tone setter for the Kansas City Chiefs. He'll be tasked with pressuring Brock Purdy and disrupting San Francisco's rhythm offensively. Can he do it? That may end up being the question of the night. Nick Bosa, number 6. He may not be lighting up the box score this season, at least not to the fans' liking when it comes to sacks. But make no mistake, Nick Bosa is still a game wrecker. And quietly, he may be having the best season of his football career. He is sitting with the highest pass rushing grade of his career, a 92.6 on PFF. Even though Bosa's production may seem a little bit down from a sack perspective, he's actually generating pressure and winning his matchups at a higher career rate than ever before, piling up 110 quarterback pressures and posting a 22.3 pass rush win rate throughout this entire postseason. His ability to win and get after Mahomes will be the difference between the 49ers raising the trophy or not. Number 7, Deebo Samuel, the original member of the Yak Boys, the man whose health literally dictates wins and losses for the 49ers. Make no mistake, I am not exaggerating that. When he's healthy, San Francisco has a winning record and is scary offensively. When he's missed time due to injury, the 49ers have a losing record and leave much to be desired offensively. It's guys like Deebo Samuel and Brock Purdy. It's guys like Deebo Samuel, and Christian McCaffrey who can mask Purdy's weaknesses and hide his limitations. Deebo's going to be important in this one. Number 8, Trent McDuffie. Now, I feel like this one might get a little bit of hate just because people like L'Jarius Sneed a lot. To me, Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed are the unsung heroes of the Kansas City team. Sneed fell just outside my top 10. He's number 11 on my list. But if you want to swap the order, I really have no problem with that. To me, McDuffie gets the nod. He was the All-Pro this year. He's number 8. Number 9, George Kittle. Travis Kelce just 2 days ago called George Kittle the best tight end in the league right now, and he'll probably go down as one of the all-time greats at the position. He's big. He gets downfield. The Iowa Hawkeye had 65 catches this season, over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. He should be able to find space and make some plays on the field in this one. Number 10, Fred Warner. To be quite honest, this feels disrespectful. The fact that Warner fell to 10 really does hurt me. It truly does. I love Fred Warner. But this game is really stacked with talent. Multiple Hall of Famers, as you can see from this list. Warner has 132 tackles this season, 4 interceptions as well. He is just another one of these great 49ers players that is just a football player. He's not a positional guy. He is another one of those 49ers Swiss Army knives that the Chiefs are going to just have to be on the lookout for all throughout Sunday. Now, I will say, the name that is absent from this top 10 list that is going to get everybody talking is Brock Purdy. And you're probably going to ask me, Ben, when did you mention Brock Purdy? So I said it was the top 10, but I decided to go a little bit longer with the list. And I'm not a Brock Purdy hater. I've given him his credit on this show. To me, Brock Purdy is a good quarterback, a really good quarterback at times. I think people give him a little bit too much credit, calling him elite and a great quarterback. I don't think he's proven that yet. He's had great moments in the regular season. He has great stats. We know about quarterbacks who put up great stats. Tua puts up great stats. Is he a great quarterback? Nobody thinks that, except for Dolphins fans. Nobody should think that Brock Purdy objectively is a great quarterback outside of 49ers fans. He puts up great stats. He plays really good football. In my opinion, he is a very good quarterback. He's not great. On my list, I went 10 Fred Warner, 11 L'Jarius Sneed, number 12 Brandon Ayuk, number 13 Creed Humphrey. Brock Purdy made his debut on my top 10 list at number 14. And that's really being objective. I don't hate Brock Purdy. I've given him his credit on this show. I've given him his flowers. I just do not think that on a field with so many future Hall of Famers, with so many great players, with so many truly elite players, that Brock Purdy has shown us enough already, or that he's proven enough already that we can say he's a great quarterback or say that he's one of the top 10 players in this matchup. He may be a top 10 player on his team. I believe that. I know Cam Newton said he's not even a top 10 player on his own team. I won't take it that far, but he's not a top 10 player in this matchup, and I think that's fair, and I think that goes to show you just how great the team is around him. Now, can he win the Super Bowl? I don't think so. I think it's going to come down to the better quarterback, and I think undoubtedly so. Patrick Mahomes is the better quarterback, and Andy Reid is the better head coach right now, although I really do like Kyle Shanahan, and I wouldn't necessarily be shocked if he finds a way to win this one. He's been to the big game multiple times. He is hungry for a win. I would understand if the 49ers go out there more prepared and they win it. I do not think they are going to. I am not going to hold you guys any longer here. I do believe the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. That's my thoughts on it. That's my top 10 players. Brock Purdy does not make the top 10. He debuts at 14. That will probably get some hate on social media, but that is me being truly objective. So it's interesting. A lot of talk on Sunday night and Monday morning has been about Cliff Kingsbury. He got hired by the Washington Commanders as their OC. And of course, Caleb Williams reposted the announcement. Very happy. He said, "Congrats, my dog." And that's pretty much what everybody is rolling with today. I don't know what happens. I don't know if the Commanders trade up. I do not think that is the case. If I look at it objectively and I try to get rid of the hype here, I assume that he will end up being drafted, he being Caleb Williams, by the Chicago Bears. I think the Bears move on from Justin Fields. They probably trade him away. People are saying for a second-round pick. I would assume a third-round pick, objectively. I don't think he's worth a second. If a team pays that for him, then that means they know how to utilize him, I assume, or if they're hoping they know how to fix him. I don't think he's worth that. Excuse me. But the real thing here, in my opinion, is now with Cliff Kingsbury becoming the Washington Commanders OC, Eric Bieniemy is now out of a job, and he's no longer the Washington Commanders OC. He was previously hired under the Ron Rivera regime, which ended a couple months ago. Pretty much felt dead a year ago already. I was surprised that it lasted that long. But Eric Bieniemy is now out of a job. And, I always like to give coaches the benefit of the doubt, and I always like to think that some of these guys maybe are just misunderstood. I give a lot of guys the benefit of the doubt in these head coaching hires and in these searches. But Eric Bieniemy did a lot of head coaching interviews over the years when he was under Andy Reid. And a lot of owners and a lot of recruiters and a lot of hiring experts did not like Eric Bieniemy. Didn't rub off on them well. Didn't necessarily love what he brought to the table. They didn't love something about him, is what we've heard. He would get into it with Mahomes on the sidelines, and he just seems like I have no intel on this. Every time I see Eric Bieniemy, specifically when he was with the Kansas City Chiefs, and when I've seen little outbursts from him on the sidelines, I understand football is an emotional game. I don't expect you to be a choir boy or a priest when you are out on the field, especially not in a contentious moment. But Eric Bieniemy has always felt like, especially during those moments with Mahomes that always became public, feels like a guy that was just hard to get along with. One of those people that you just don't mesh well with, that are just difficult, that it's just, in Spanish, we've got a word for it, acomplejado. I just feel like Eric Bieniemy has now proven he's not as bright of an offensive mind or as bright of an offensive coach as most people thought he was. Hard to get along with. Not an easy guy to go have dinner with or have lunch with. Very difficult, clearly. And Washington, at the end of the day, even though they took a little bit of a gamble by hiring him, did not like what they saw. I thought he did a pretty good job early on in the year with Sam Howell. Now I start to wonder, as things fell off the rails, was that just because there wasn't a lot of film out there on Sam Howell, and once teams figured him out, they figured out the offense and they exposed them? That's kind of what it feels like to me. But Eric Bieniemy feels like now, for all the people who complained and came to Eric Bieniemy's defense over the years, which I was one of them at one point. I thought I wasn't super outspoken about it, but I was like, man, you know what? Maybe he does deserve a shot. And if he would have succeeded, I wouldn't have been surprised because he was under Andy Reid for so many years. And it just felt like some of that good stuff would rub off on him. Now you look back at all those people who ran to his defense and claimed other things were the reasons for him not being hired. And you can settle on the fact this morning that, you know what? Maybe Eric Bieniemy wasn't that great of a coach. Maybe he's not that great of an offensive mind, and he is pretty difficult to get along with and pretty difficult to be buddy-buddy with based on everything we've seen. He is not an easygoing person. He is difficult, and he's not a great head coach in this league, and he might not even be a good one. Does he find his way back in Kansas City next season? I assume so. That just feels like the way it's going to go here. But I think it's pretty obvious that Eric Bieniemy is not everything that he was sold to be. He is not all that in a bag of chips. He is just one of the top maybe 16 offensive minds in the league from a coordinator perspective. And that's not saying much. And I'm not even sure if I can say that with full confidence. I don't know. Remains to be seen where he goes. He'll probably end up right back with Andy Reid. So yesterday was the Grammys, and I know a lot of people won't care about what happened or the broadcast itself, but I did tune in, and Taylor Swift, of course, I believe took home 2 Grammys, one of which was Album of the Year, her 4th time winning the award, which is most all time. Nobody has ever won 4 Album of the Years in their career. An incredible accomplishment and a testament to her musical ability. But people are really upset, of course, about it in the NFL, right? Saying, why is she getting so much attention? Last week, a report came out saying that Taylor Swift has generated the equivalent to $331 million in brand advocacy for the NFL, which I'm not sure of the exact terminology to that, but she has generated the equivalent to $331 million. Let's focus on the number, not the terminology. For reference, the cash cow of the NFL is their TV deals. In the offseason, every single NFL owner is very happy because in addition to the fact that the NFL is constantly growing and is a very profitable league, the league essentially pays for itself through the TV deals. We have about, what is the cap now? $250 million, $260 million, plus your head coach, plus your GM. It rounds out at about usually less than $300 million in annual expenses, right? The TV deal gives these teams, once it's split up, about $375 to $390 million. So we're playing a numbers game here, right? The league at the end of the year, each team gets about $375, $390 million, and that pays for the roster, that pays for the payroll, that pays for all the employees, that pays for the head coach, that pays for the front office, that pays for utilities, that pays for a lot. Just the TV money, right? That's why the NFL has embraced TV so much. That's why I'm in this industry, because there is certainly a lot of gain to be made in this industry, and we'll leave it at that. But Taylor Swift has generated in about 6, 7, whatever you want to call it, maybe 8 months max with the league, $331 million. Taylor Swift brings in the equivalent to an entire NFL team in terms of notoriety from a broadcast television perspective, and she's one person. Sure, there's a marketing team, sure, there's a PR arm, but the fans that love Taylor Swift, who are really willing to galvanize, or who she is willing to galvanize to entertain or to support anything that she puts out there, she has proven to be so valuable to the league. And yesterday, she went up on stage after one of her awards and she said, I'm going to announce an album that I've been keeping secret for 2 years, and stay tuned because I'm going to post the album cover on Instagram and on Twitter. And in 9 minutes, I looked at each of those posts. In 9 minutes, not even 10, the Instagram picture had over 3 million likes and tens of millions of views, I assume. And the Twitter post had 400,000 likes and over millions of impressions by that time. And you can argue that likes don't mean anything and impressions don't mean anything and social media is not real life. But the fact of the matter is Taylor Swift, from a brand perspective, from a marketing perspective, has already proven that she's one of the biggest, if not the biggest star in the world. And now she's bringing that attention to the NFL. And this season has been the most watched postseason by a audience of women in NFL history. Women have never tuned in more for the NFL postseason than they have this year. That is not a coincidence. You can continue to complain about the NFL Instagram posts and her showing, and the broadcast showing her on camera, but at the end of the day, she is one of the biggest stars in the league. The league knows that. The league knows what kind of notoriety she will bring along with her, and they are going to continue to make sure to let this train roll, and hopefully it lasts a long time, and that's the way the league sees it. But make no mistake, the NFL would be idiots to not embrace this Taylor Swift train, and if you have a problem with it, you're clearly not a business person. So before we go, Joel Embiid is going to miss an extended amount of time. Could it be the rest of the season? Could it be just a few weeks? We don't know that yet. But he is going to miss time with a meniscus injury, one that we saw coming just a few weeks ago, if we're being honest. It seems like he re-aggravated that. The team will make the distinction as to whether or not he comes back for this regular season or not. The MVP is no longer in his sights, though. I think it's safe to assume that because of the 65-game minimum rule that you have to play that many games to be eligible for the award. Two things can be true. Number one, Joel Embiid is a very good, great player in the NBA. Absolutely. Won an MVP last year. When he's healthy, he dominates, can score 30 points at ease. He is one of the best players in the league. I would say top 10 when healthy. The second thing that can be true, he has now missed time each and every single one of the seasons that he has played in the NBA. Injuries have plagued Joel Embiid's NBA career, and we can say and acknowledge that he's a great player, and we can boast about his ability, and we can give him his flowers, but we also have to acknowledge that he misses a lot of time. And in a league that is now starting to, more than ever, when it comes to awards, when it comes to statistics, when it comes to viewership, when it comes to fan loyalty, this league has never valued availability more and being there for your team. And Joel Embiid, at the end of seasons when it matters most, going into the postseason, availability is always a huge question mark that I think as a fan, as an owner, as anybody around the Philadelphia 76ers, I just wouldn't feel comfortable with. I don't know if I would give Joel Embiid another contract. He has had injury problems now a lot. I think that is something to look out for in terms of why the 76ers may be hesitant about Joel Embiid's future. You cannot ignore how much time he has missed. He is people say this jokingly a lot with players. He's like a hospital bed. He is in and out of the doctor's office. He is just never around, and it is a huge problem. Also, before we go, I saw this morning, and this is not really a story, but it did upset me. I'm going to pull up the quote here because I thought it was kind of ridiculous, and I'm not going to lie. So Jameis Winston said, he was on Pardon My Take. I'm sure it's going to be a very funny podcast. I will listen to it. And we know that Jameis Winston is one of these people who doesn't take himself too seriously. And for that, we are very thankful and we enjoy it, right? But some things are just said in poor taste. The first four letters of my name spells out win. And I was confused for a second until I realized he meant his last name, Winston. Jameis Winston, the first four letters of my last name spell cure. It doesn't make me a doctor. The fact is, Jameis Winston's decision-making has always been the most questionable part of his career, has always been his biggest weakness. On the field, off the field, the tons of interceptions that he's thrown, the off-field decisions that he made while in college, those are certain things that I'm not going to hold him to the fire when it comes to that. That was years ago. But decision-making has always been the thing for Jameis Winston that makes fans frustrated, especially including myself. And now Jameis Winston is jokingly saying the first four letters of my name spell out wins. This was a guy that was a backup quarterback in the NFC South, a division that is devoid of quarterback talent outside of Baker Mayfield. He was a backup. Jameis Winston has a career record of 34 wins and 46 losses as a starter in his career. But he says that the first four letters of his last name spell out win. The first four letters of my last name spell cure. I'm not a doctor, and it doesn't make me one. I thought it was ridiculous. I think Jameis Winston has aggravated me more than he usually has, especially in years. I can't believe that he's this much a conversation in the offseason, this much a conversation this late into the year when he's not playing after being a backup all season long, but it is what it is. I think that Jameis Winston shtick and the gimmick of being the class clown and being the funny guy, it's getting a little bit old. Jameis Winston didn't pan out in this league, and he continues to act like he was a winner and like he can get around with goofing around. If I was a GM, if I was a coach, I would be annoyed. Jameis Winston does everything the opposite of what you want him to do as a head coach or as a general manager or as a football fan. He doesn't help you win. He has a losing record all time as a starter. He's made very questionable decisions on the field and off it. He has directly violated a head coach's play, has galvanized the locker room to go against the head coach in a sense, even if it was just for a singular drive or a singular play at the end of the year, at the end of a game. And now he's saying stuff like this in the offseason. Hard to take him seriously. I don't necessarily think he wants us to take him seriously. But by the same token, like, you claim that you can win and that you want to be a starter in this league and that you've still got it. Jameis Winston has yet to prove that he could be any sort of viable starter in this league. With that being said, that is all for today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. My final prediction for the Super Bowl, come hell or high water, I don't care how stacked the 49ers are. I love them as a team. I love their head coach. I like Brock Purdy, as I emphasized earlier today. But Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed, those guys are going to be able to get after it, and they are going to find a way to win the game. And Mahomes, in my opinion, a conversation for next week, but it's just a hint. Mahomes may already be on my quarterback Mount Rushmore, but that is for next week. I will not bore us anymore. Until next time, I'm Benjamin Cure. This is The Benjamin Cure Show.